Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. I have asked Tom to run the meeting tonight, not because I don't enjoy it, but because I just felt it might be refreshing to have him do it rather than me do it every time. Plus, he's more than qualified. But the chairman's report is very brief. You all got my memo a week or two ago. The majority of our time tonight is going to be following up on some things that came up in the last meeting and possibly some things that members may be bringing forward at this meeting around the idea of issues, problems that you perceive might be able to be handled or improved by change in the charter. That's really what it's all about. So that's what the discussion, I think, is going to revolve around.
Okay. All right, I guess basically we're really getting into the nuts and the bolts tonight. So I am glad that you've all come here this evening. We've kind of got a list of nuts and bolts that we want to cover tonight. We'll see how far we get into them. Our first order of business is the approval of the meeting minutes from our last meeting. I'll take a motion.
Move to be accepted as printed.
Second.
A second. Any discussion? Good. Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. We are going to start presentation of the issues from our meeting. First one on the list is security. And I see we do have a memo here. And since we do have Mr. Joel Greenberg here, why don't you come up forward and explain this memo to us? What do you think this means?
Where would you like me to stand?
Oh, right this one.
I know Bob McMillan's not going to be here, so if you want to sit in his chair, you can do that.
Can I stand?
Sure.
So the memo that you have in front of you is just a two-sheet, supposed to be a one-sheet, just basically going over where we get the authority to provide security for our office and outlining what our revenue officers do in our security division. Security, not law enforcement. It should be a clear distinction. Beyond that, they also act as customer service reps for all the tasks that a normal customer service rep will do. They should do the security. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Absolutely. Please.
Joel, just so you know, I don't know if you got a copy of what we got from the Sheriff's Department.
Yes, sir.
Both documents are accurate. There was never an issue about the authority of anybody to do what they're doing. I think the question came up was, is there a more cost-effective way of doing this by you collaborating with the Sheriff's Department to take advantage of his deputies? That's why the question came up, but appreciate you bringing this in.
And I hope that the answer to your question was provided. It would cost us a lot more money to hire either a private company or to retain a deputy from the Sheriff's Office.
Well, we've not seen a cost analysis on it, but you may be right or you may be wrong. I'm sure you wouldn't have done it if you hadn't done a study. So,
Okay. All right. Thank you, Larry. I think we've so stated here many times, and I'll just state it again, just to be clear. We're talking about, to me, the efficient utilization of taxpayer dollars. And, the thought in my mind is I'm still not clear, or I still don't believe that having a second security system in this county is in the best interest of the taxpayers. If there's an issue there with security, it's the sheriff's prerogative in my mind. And I just don't want to have, I want to, in as much as possible, provide the best service to our residents at the most cost-effective manner. And that's really where I am at this issue. I know we got through with it in the schools, and the sheriff responded to the differentiating how the cities provide resource officers in the city schools, and the county provides them in county schools. I think that's tremendous, especially in today's day and age. Having a licensed officer with a weapon at a school, I think, is a good thing for all of us.
On the area's cost, you're saying cost. Now, don't the constitutional officers have their own monies that they can spend money on if they wanted to have a security officer, right? That wouldn't affect our budget. That would affect their own budget. Is correct?
See, Tom, I don't see it that way. I know it was explained to us that he has all of his fee revenue. Well, almost all of his fee revenue is our tax dollars.
Okay.
Right? The way the system works, let's just put it all on the table. We pay our property taxes, and a portion of those property taxes are fee, if you want to call it, but they're still property taxes, and they go to the tax collector to fund his operation. In addition to other revenue that he collects for the various licenses and things that he collects at his office. Okay? He's the revenue collection for Seminole County. Okay, so the fees that he's collecting are tax dollars. Okay, so the more money he spends, okay, the less gets rebated back to the county. Now, let's get into the intricacies. Okay, how did the legislature set what that fee should be? Well, they looked at the smallest counties with the smallest amount of revenue collected, and they made sure that that fee was sufficient to run that tax collector's office. Well, we're not a small county. We're not a rural county. We're an urban county where the fees that are collected are well in excess of what it costs to run that office. What happens to the excess dollars? They go directly back into Seminole County general fund. So the more money he spends there, the less money goes into the general fund, which means the more taxes have to go up to cover those funds. So I don't care how you slice it. I don't care what technical definitions or anything else. Sorry, the majority of the money being spent is tax dollars. Yes.
So, just so I'm understanding, are you suggesting that perhaps we put something on the ballot whether we allow the tax collector to have his own security force or not? Is that what you're getting at?
I don't know. Let's discuss it first, and we'll see where this goes.
Kind of my question, which is basically, is this a charter issue? Because charter should be addressing the structure of our government, not their means and methods of carrying it out. That's who you elect people to make those decisions. So it's kind of like, do you buy cars or do you lease cars? So I don't think we would want that in the charter. So I don't think we would want something as specific as what we're talking about here in the charter. I'm wondering if there's not a bigger issue here, and it's more related to the tax collector rather than just this issue.
Yes, it is. I think this is the tip of the iceberg. I think really where I'm going is, I can see how you don't want the property appraiser under county government. Because they want more revenue, tell them, jack up all of the property values, we get more revenue, okay? I think you don't want the sheriff, the chief law enforcement officer, reporting to the county commission. Okay, they made all these mistakes here, but you don't charge anybody with anything because you report to us, we'll fire your butt, okay? So I don't think the sheriff should report to the county commission, okay? Then you've got the supervisor of elections. Well, you don't want the elections rigged, so you don't want them attached to underneath the county government either. My question in my mind is, how is there a conflict of interest with the tax collector from just being a department of the county?
Well, it's my understanding that the Constitutional Revision Commission, this is something that they're taking up right now. Am I correct?
Yes.
And where it doesn't matter what we do as far as that goes, that's going to overrule, and we're not going to be allowed to do that. Meaning that constitutional officers must remain independent. Is that my?
They do have a proposal. It's proposal number 13 that's pending before the Constitutional Review Commission right now. And that proposal would essentially, take away from the counties the ability to make constitutional officers, charter officers. And if they have already done that, which a lot of counties, of course, have done, then they have until a date certain to have them revert back to constitutional officers. And that's Constitutional Revision Commission number 13, proposal number 13.
Tom, was it your drive to get, in other words, you were concerned about having the security under one head? Is that what you wanted? It was under the sheriff's office, correct?
Yes.
All right. Is the sheriff agreeable with that thought?
That's not how it can work, Tom. Sheriff can't make that decision.
Is that?
Sheriff can't make that decision. Not under this current charter. If the tax collector wants to interact with the sheriff to get a contract to do what you're talking about, they can do that. But that's outside the purview of our role unless the charter gets changed. What I would suggest we do, rather than get bogged down, if you're okay with this, rather than get bogged down with this at this point, one of the things that, when it's my turn, I'm going to recommend really deals with a much bigger picture and more of a collaborative way to get at any change if there's going to be a change. So if it's okay with you and if it's okay with the rest of the group, I would say let's wait till I tell you what I'm thinking about and see what you think about that.
Well, the question I have is, and of course it's certainly up to this particular case what we're talking about Mr. Greenberg's operation. Would it be prudent to just have an analysis, if we have the authority to do that, to be able to discover how efficiently he is operating his op compared to the other? If you're talking about dollars, I don't know if Mr. Greenberg is running a much more efficient office. I think he is, but I don't know. And by the same token, there are other options. Would it be nice to know whether that's our purview? I don't know if we can ask that or not. That would certainly go toward putting to rest and either support or not support the fact that Mr. Greenberg is operating a very efficient and run operation from that perspective. Does that make any sense? Because we're talking about something I don't know. We're saying we believe that he may be spending more money than necessary, but I don't know that.
Well, I think we got a couple of pointers. The first pointer is the budget was submitted and they cut $1.2 million out of the budget. Okay, and then you have these real estate deals and they said, no, he's not allowed to do the real estate deals. So those are excess funds. So we've got some indication. But Dana, I really have a question for you is, how does this constitutional review thing affect us?
Well,
does that look like it's going to go through?
And it's impossible to say right now because the committee is still in its work, so I can track it like I track legislative bills and keep an eye on how it's moving along. But essentially what this proposal would do is it would take effect January 5th of 2021. So that's about 3 years from now. And so you have to remember that questions go before the voters, and they have to be approved by the voters before the Constitution is amended. And it just depends on how many amendments are on there and what people really think about these initiatives as to whether or not they're going to vote yay or nay. So at this point in time, it is a proposal. It is being considered by the Constitutional Revision Commission, and if it were to pass the commission and the voters, it would take effect January 5th, 2021.
Should we let something that which may or may not happen affect what we do?
Right.
Here.
Right.
I would say no.
I'd say no.
And yeah, this is a proposal that's out there, and it's out there for this very reason, to pull these officers out of the charters and back into the constitutional officer status. But who knows where it's going to go?
So that's good information to have, but it really shouldn't affect what we're doing here.
I just wanted to say, I mean, if you don't mind, it seems like we're kind of getting off track on budgets, and I know we're beating Joel up and on his budget. But I mean, let's wait till Larry gets back, because I think if we're going to do something, it's on a higher level, not on a budgetary low level. That's really, I don't think that's necessary. And Michelle brought that up as well. So I would say, we'll just move on from that. We've already beat him up enough, and then follow back up with Larry.
Okay.
I would just add on that, you talked about the money that was cut out of his budget when it went up to the state. That tells me that this system works. Because folks had a problem with that budget, it got appealed, went through the process, and they reduced the budget. That gives me some comfort that there's actually a check and balance in the system addressing this issue. Structurally, I think the system works.
They modified his budget. I think what they did is said, getting in the real estate business is not a good idea. Maybe I'm wrong.
There's two items.
I thought they cut a bunch of money out of his budget.
Well, to do what he had in mind, which was the real estate stuff, I thought. Is that not true? Can we let Joel speak?
Does anybody know that?
Joel, please answer.
It's more fun to speculate.
Our initial budget was reduced, compromised, and then in addition to that, they advised against moving forward with the real estate deal. Different events. Both events check and balances work.
Good point, Kevin. I think a lot of this also gets into Larry's big issue, which is everybody in the county working collaboratively together for the greater good of the citizens of the county. I really think that's the big issue that's out there. If you can figure that issue out,
Well, you
I think
can go ahead and give my presentation.
No.
That's pretty well stated.
But I have no idea how to make that happen.
I have an idea about a process I'm going to recommend. Let's put it that way.
Why don't we have the reveal?
Well, because he's running the show and he may be gone.
Well, I guess.
All who want to move forward and hear this, raise your hands.
We're on the subject. We may as well do it.
Okay, you're on.
All right. As I beat around the bush at the last meeting, what we're really talking about is what you said. Some way to ensure a more collaborative approach to the governmental entities, constitutional officers, Board of County Commissioners in Seminole County. Now, when I started thinking about this after our meeting, a few days after our last meeting, I tried to think of the private sector approach before I thought about the public. Not that you can model one with the other, but it starts the thought processes going. Companies that have corporations that own several companies may or may not find out that merging all those together turns out to be a good idea from a lot of different perspectives. Dollars, customer service, all those types of things. In the case of Seminole County, it's even more complicated than that because you've got laws, you've got local ordinances, you've got a lot of players in the public sector. What I want to do is to form a subcommittee of about 5 people to do a little more research and come back to this group to say what makes sense. Does it make sense to bring one or more of the officers, constitutional officers, under the Board of County Commissioners? Does it not? If it does, Pasha, you brought up, I think at the first meeting, you talked about a SWOT analysis. That's not exactly what I'm talking about, but at least if we're recommending something, we should say the pros and cons of each recommendation. And I think with a subgroup of this commission, I'd say 4 to 5 people max, we can come back with something that we feel makes sense and get some more dialogue going and either decide to do it or not do it or change it or whatever we decide. But I think unless we take the big picture approach to deal with this, we're never going to get anywhere. But that's really what I had in mind.
It's an excellent idea.
I have a question. From our very first meeting, you started raising the issue of people who were in some of these offices. So that's created some problems. I've kind of pushed back on that.
I should have said new people.
I don't think you design your government structure around individuals who happen to be in office today.
Let me.
So my question to you is, you're presenting it in a different way now, but I get the sense that it's still that issue.
Let me state it this way, and I think it'll be crystal clear. Ray Valdez, we're still in that office. I would be making the same recommendation here. It has nothing to do with who's in the office. It has to do with demands on dollars in the county over the next 10 years and more. Sunrail, everything I brought up at the last meeting. We've got to get control of the purse strings so the taxpayers are getting the best deal. As I know what I said about rookies, that just made it more obvious to me to start thinking about management structures and the possibilities. So that's really where I'm coming from. It's not because of Joel and his issues as a newbie. I know he's embarrassed and he's struggling over that. It has nothing to do with Joel. It has to do with management structure. And I'm sincere about that. But I interrupted you. You can.
No, I was just asking that question, whether it was really an underlying issue, because I think you said initially, was asked a couple of times the last time, there weren't any proposed changes to the charter because veterans in place and we didn't need that. And now we have newbies in place, so we're going to need some charter changes. To me, it's what the motivation. The motivation is if there's clearly some efficiencies to be gained. Something's not working right structurally, I'm all for looking at that. If it's to try to deal with people that the voters put in those positions, do that, I'm absolutely against it.
I agree with you.
Yeah. I think that's part of the analysis is if we get the subcommittee together, I mean, we're having issues and the government isn't working real well. Is it a personality issue? If it is, that's not our issue. It's the voters will resolve that. If it's a systemic issue, then that's something we need to address.
Well, and what we started out with is how does it affect the taxpayer now and in the future? That's really, I said that at the first meeting. Right. I'll stand behind that.
And I'd like to use his analogy of corporate mergers. To me, this is a merger, Department of Revenue and the county. Just can't imagine there's not economies of scale, but of having two separate organizations, having one that are sharing resources would be more cost effective.
Oh, is that the
and hold on. And I'm against that for the other offices because there's conflict. There's no conflict with collecting revenue.
So is the proposal to merge the tax collector?
No, the proposal is to have this subcommittee do an evaluation and come back to this group with some recommendations as it relates to saving the taxpayer dollars in Seminole County in the future by some sort of collaborative arrangement. I mean, it could be some sort of, and Dana's the one who would have to deal with this because I don't know if you can put something like this in the charter where you have sort of an interagency agreement of certain things so that you're getting legal representation from one source for all entities, as an example, where you've got common personnel policies and stuff like that. I don't know what we're going to discuss. I'm just throwing ideas out.
Tom, I'd like to make a motion.
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion that we put together a subcommittee, as the chairman has outlined, to review and create and look at those evaluations and to bring that back to the committee as a whole. Because I think it'll refine some of the stuff that we're talking about and then be a little more specific so that we're not all over the board. Again, in the motion specifically is to kind of make sure we're on point as to how it would affect the charter, not budgets or people or anything like that. I think the chairman has a great idea of getting these 4 or 5 people and then bringing something back to us a lot more efficient to talk about.
Okay. Motion, with a second?
Second.
A second. Further discussion? None? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now, there's another committee in the sunshine, noticed meetings. All against.
Aye.
Grant mouth that he can't vote.
I just know we're keeping minutes, so I was just doing that for the record.
Good man.
Good
That's
man.
the boss.
Okay. We need nominations.
Kevin Grace.
Volunteer, or you have to?
Oh, no, you volunteer.
Okay, I would volunteer.
Okay. You want to do, yeah, okay. 1, 2. We need 2 more.
Pass that topic. Nominate Miss Michelle.
4. Okay.
5 total.
And you want 2. Okay. Motion is to have these 5 people work on this subcommittee. Somebody needs to make that motion. I can't. I'm the chairman.
I so move.
We got a motion. We have a second.
I'll be Ken second.
A second. Further nominations? Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Should be able to move on to the next.
Okay, now we need a time and a date for the committee, for the subcommittee meeting. When do you guys want to meet?
We need to meet, I'd like to meet the first time before our next meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Which is what?
Do you want to meet here?
We meet here?
Only on the
Nicole,
attorney. Oh,
Oh, no, I don't know.
they were asking whether we can meet here same time a week from today. Okay.
I have a, I will not be able to attend the second Tuesday of the month. I work out in Ocoee at the Planning and Zoning Commission on that day. So if you need me to participate in the subcommittee meetings, which you may or may not choose to do, then I wouldn't be able to be here next Tuesday.
Let's assume we don't for the first one.
Okay, that's fine.
It's more to do
Discuss.
some brainstorming and
Sounds good.
develop a team approach among 5 people.
We have a question.
Well, just strategically, we're doing this. We didn't add anything in our budget for extra minutes being taken. I know department there's already been some issues. Have other minutes coming through, like backlog. I know that's caused stress for this board, but a couple more meetings a month. That's what we're good.
Thank you. We appreciate your concern. Okay. All right. So, the meeting then is a week from today, here. And if it's not here, there'll be a message on the door telling us what other conference room you're going to go to.
Right.
Same time, same place, 1 week from today. Today is the 6th, right? 6th? Oh, 13th, yes.
13th.
2,
But it's
13,
Not Friday, but
6:30. Okay.
Tuesday.
Okay, so we've gone out of order, but we will go to number 2 item. Pasha?
Yes.
Nonpartisan.
Yes, sir. This one is on the nonpartisanship of county races, nonpartisan races for county commission, and nonpartisan races for constitutional officers. And the suggestions or the premise of this would be we're denying the access of rights to vote to almost a third of our citizens through that. Because that's what that's saying. When we look at our constitutional officers, they're going to work for us whether we're Republican, Democrat, or Independent. But you're telling me I can't vote because of this party.
You're talking about
because of partisan.
You're talking about in the primary.
You're talking about primaries.
Primaries, yes, sir. Yes, sir. So when we're looking at that, we're looking at denying people access because of the write-in candidates. We're looking at that. If we're looking at the whole, the macro of it, we're closing a primary due to we're letting politics take away our constitutional right. That's a constitutional right.
It's not, it's a privilege. Not a right.
Right.
Depends.
No, not because it's not a right.
Okay.
Hold on. I need clarification. Dana, is it a right or a privilege?
I'm not familiar. I would have to research the issue. I'm not familiar with what they're talking about right now as far as the constitutional right versus privilege.
This is really about not so much
Elections laws,
nonpartisan.
right.
This is about not having open primaries.
Right, and
No.
Florida is a closed primary state.
I think we shouldn't get hung up. I think we should let Pasha finish her,
I agree, but
and then we can.
they turn out being one and the same.
Basha, you
Kind of.
continue till you tell us we can do question and answer.
No problem. No problem. I'm just going based on the amendment that it says I have the right to vote. That 15th Amendment in the Constitution. That's what I'm going on. Okay, so what I'm saying is that because of this, closing the primary, whatever you want to call it, partisanship, is denying a third of the people to be represented in a vote. However, it does not say that the sheriff cannot represent me because of my party, but I still could not vote for him. It does not say that the tax collector cannot take my money or Grant cannot do his job because of my party, but I'm not allowed to vote for him. Well, that's correct in that primary because of that. So looking at the micro and going back to all of the points that were made, we always want to choose the best person for those jobs. We can't do that if you're not allowing a third of the people to vote. Whether you want so-and-so or so-and-so, you still can't do it if you don't allow half of the people to vote. The amendment says that that's my right, that's my privilege, that's my constitutional amendment. You can't go against the Constitution. That's what we're here for. That's the governing authority of all of this. And we went against that. That's what I'm saying. Yes, sir.
Question, isn't the voting procedure done by the state, not by individual counties?
Not on this one. This one is held by that position by Mr. Ertel's office, by the supervisor of elections.
So he sets the policy on whether it's a primary.
Not the policy, but the charter could amend that to allow people their constitutional right, constitutional privilege, whatever you want to call it, to vote. That's what this charter is for.
Let me ask you, if 1/3 you say aren't allowed to vote, couldn't they just pick a side and vote? Then they would be allowed.
They have a choice.
I mean, I personally think that I want to know more about who my candidates are, not less. And if you're nonpartisan, you don't get to reveal more. You have to reveal less. And this is a no-go for me.
I would have to be convinced. I think people tend to. I don't think anybody who's not a member of my party. The primaries are for the parties to choose their candidate for the general election. You get a vote in the general election. If you're not a member of a particular party, you shouldn't be voting to select who that party's candidate is. That's not denying you the right to vote. That comes in the... So I don't think I can support that. Unless there's a better argument than that. It's kind of like you don't live in, I don't know what city, you live in St. Clair?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you don't get a vote in the Lake Mary election.
That's correct.
We're not denying you your right to vote, right?
That's
By
correct.
voting. Okay, same thing in the party. Well, you're not a Republican or you're not a Democrat. You don't vote, you shouldn't be voting. I don't think I would support that.
I don't think the Eagles should have been allowed to pick the starting lineup for the Patriots, and I don't think the Patriots should have been allowed to pick the starting lineup for the Eagles. I think that when you go on Election Day, that's your Super Bowl, and I think everybody should be choosing their own starting lineup.
Really getting to where you're coming from. It's not about partisan, nonpartisan. It's really about having open primaries. Person running for the office is still wearing a party hat of some sort. And personally, I think that's why this country's gotten to where it is now, because we don't have open primaries. Up with, in the case of a Republican, generally a far-right person, Democrats a far-left person. When they end up in Congress, you don't have many moderates left. That's the problem. It's not partisan or nonpartisan, because I agree with Michelle. I want to know not just the party of the person, but what they stand for. Go with nonpartisans, that's kind of a non-commitment. It's kind of like sign my blank check, vote for me. I know where you're coming from, and I don't disagree with where we need to go, but through the partisan process isn't going to solve the problem. It's probably going to make the problem worse as far as how people get picked. I don't know what the solution is, because to change, go to an open primary requires the current elected officials at the state and the federal level to make that decision. And most of them got there by not having open primaries, so it's going to be hard for them to vote that way.
That's true. However, we can point to the 2017 elections of the constitutional officers that are in this room. I did not vote for any of them because that wasn't on my ballot. Do they represent me? Do I pay them as a tax-paying citizen? Do I own the property around the corner for him? Do I own the other property around the corner from this place? Yes. Do I own the businesses that are in this county? Yes. You cannot take my money and do not allow me the right to vote.
Well, if party of your choice had no person running, whose fault is that? The parties? It's not your fault. That's the rules we play by. I still think open primaries is the solution, but I will be dead in my grave before it happens.
Are there counties that you would point to that do this, that operate better?
Yes, sir.
No, it's a dumb question. I don't know.
Yes, sir. And there are also races that we do that now. There are cities within this county that we do that now. There are mayoral races that are happening this year that are nonpartisan within this county. There are judges' races that are nonpartisan for that exact reason. Because you have to take out the politics and just give people the right to vote. That's all it is. I just want to vote. I wanted to vote whether I could have Joel as my tax collector. I wanted to vote if I could have Grant as my clerk of court. I wanted to vote if I could have Sheriff Lima as Sheriff Lima. I could not do that. A lot of other people could not do that in this county.
In the primary.
In the primary. Is that fair? Is that fair?
I think it is. Because the system is set up so that you're not tied to one party, you can change. If your party is not ever having a representation in a particular race, and you want to vote in the primary, you can change parties. I can do the same thing. I mean, there's a timeline in there. I don't know what the rules are, but in this county, I think one time, and maybe Kevin can remember this, school board members for a very short period of time were nonpartisan, I think. A very short period of time. They are? When did it change?
1989 with the implementation of the charter. Partisan since.
I thought they were, and then it got revoked.
There was I think that the issue was there was a charter question on the ballot. Anyway, but there was something within the county where they wanted to make it partisan, and then it ended up having to go back. Right, because it was the state law, and there's okay. The rules are, to your other question, 29 days before an election. And anybody can take part of your point. The Pasha's point about the write-ins, and that's where the real issue is. So your solution, I can form an opinion here. Your solution is because people are abusing the system, we should change the system. Personal belief is, I'll do this for years, don't change the system, stop the abuse, so that the system works. Because the primary election, to Larry and the lovely lady's point, the primary election is not a semifinals. It is each party picking the standard bearers for their party. But you point out the abuse of the write-in, which caused that 1/3 of the people, nearly 1/3 of the people, to not be able to take part in that, what then becomes the last legitimate election. Write-in loophole is closed, then you've got the opportunity for everyone to take part in that primary election if there's only Republican running, or if there's only Democrats running in that primary. That's so instead of changing the system, fight the loophole of the abuse. That can't be done here. That's a state law. It's currently in the state constitution. However, there is something in the constitution. But even if that passes, and there's a lot of people who are elected here and formerly elected, we're still going to find a way to work.
Understood. However,
Thank you, Mike. I was going to have you come up here anyway, but you've already
And to your other question, by the way, about whether it's a right or a privilege, you're both right in the sense that it is a privilege, but where you talk about the right, where the right exists is what the Constitution says. Where the right exists, it cannot be. Where the right does not. So if the right were to exist, not be infringed upon because of then you've got. So where it exists, it cannot be infringed.
thank you. Thank you. And just to Mr. Ertel's point, and to this, to moving forward, are we denying access? And who are we to do that?
Anything in the current charter that denies access.
Because
you
I
say
can.
we.
Because if I write in a candidate, and if I write in Christian, my dog, the Yorkie, and he's a Republican, or what have you.
You can only do that in California.
And if somehow, it gets past Mr. Artell and we close this, Asha can't vote. Not even for a dog.
Well, that's the gamesmanship that happens in both parties to keep.
But can't
keep
we
the primary.
minimize that, Chairman?
Huh?
But can't we minimize that?
I don't think we can minimize it by going to nonpartisan races. That's just my opinion. That gets me to say, well, who is this person? What are they standing for? At least if it's with a party, there's a platform that goes with that. That starts the conversation. If it's nonpartisan, you don't know what the person stands for. There's nothing but the person standing there telling you, and they could be lying to you. At least you've got a platform with a party, no matter what the party is. That's where I'm coming from.
And I think your comment was get politics out of this.
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure we want to do that because the process is you're electing people, they're politicians. The reason why they're called politicians. Politics is an inherent part. So I don't think you want to take politics out of electing politicians to these important offices. I think you want to know clearly where people stand. Able to hide behind some neutral term that nobody really knows. So most people don't know a lot about the people voting for them. A lot of them depend on a party designee to decide who they vote for. Whether that's right or wrong, a lot of people do it. You take that away and pick in the name that they like the best.
Or the best
I'm not
person.
sure that's any better. Or the best person.
And then everybody votes for the best person.
In general, once it's all whittled down by parties,
But at least we got there.
right?
I guess I'll weigh in a little bit too, Pasha. California changed their process. And to me, it's too early to know how well that's going to work. So I'm not really willing to do anything to change it at this time. I certainly agree with what's been stated, and that is, if you belong to a party, I certainly only want that party voting for their candidate. Now, if politics in California, because the way they change it makes things a lot smoother out there, what's going on in Washington, in a lot of cases, it's not really helping the American public. I don't think this is going to change that. But what's going on in California could prove me wrong. And at that time, I'm certainly willing to change it. I'm willing to change it later.
And also, I want to make the point of, I understand where you're coming from as saying the party, you at least know that this person is attached to this platform. I'm not clear where that comes in with our constitutional officers. They don't have to be attached to a platform. There is no platform for a constitutional officer. They're going to represent me because he is the sheriff, because he is the tax collector, because he is the clerk of court, because they are the Board of County Commissioners.
And if they're Republican, they're probably more conservative. I was your age once. I thought just like you.
I'm saying that if we want to minimize and have the best people represent the second fiscally responsible county in this state of Florida, and to make it even better for tomorrow, during this constitutional review, we want to make sure that all voters have that right to vote. And if you call it politics, I'm going to call it politricks. Because you do not need that access to vote.
I told you how you can vote.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that, you're covering both constitutional officers and the county commission?
Yes, sir.
A lot of ground to cover. Do we want to make a motion? We move on, or we accept the position, or where are we going?
That's everything just like it is.
Give me a second.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carries.
May I say something?
Sure.
Keep on fighting.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Kevin, you're up.
I have a handout. I'll pass it around. This is the item that I brought up last time about prohibiting political activity in the county manager's office. So kind of put together just a rationale for it. And then I included the Hillsborough County and the Sarasota County charters. But basically, my thought is to protect the council manager form of government. I think it's served us well. My concern that what can disrupt that is a politically active, unelected executive. And so I was intrigued when I saw Hillsborough and Sarasota each have done this. I don't think we have a problem that this is, I'm putting this forward to fix. To me, it's a preventive type move to make sure that that doesn't happen here. So.
This applies to any political activity at any level.
Other than voting.
Well, yeah.
No fundraising, no.
Even like a judge.
The ones who follow the rules, yeah.
Right. How the judges are supposed to be.
Now, I only wrote this up, and I based it on the county manager on the fact that, I've spent a good chunk of my career as a city manager and county manager. We have a recognized professional organization, the International City and County Manager Association, and it has a code of ethics, and that's on the back. And I highlighted tenet number 7 there. It basically says you have to refrain from all political activities, undermine public confidence in professional administrators, refrain from participation in the election of members, employing legislative bodies. So I focused on the county manager. If you notice, I believe one of the others also included the county. So I guess it would be a topic as to whether we wanted to limit it only to the.
Are there other counties that you're aware of that's already doing this too?
Other counties? Just these two that I'm aware of.
Really?
Sarasota.
I'm surprised. Surprised everybody didn't get on that bandwagon. It seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah. I'm sure they'd be relieved to not have to be writing checks to their boss. Honestly, I mean, you look at a county manager, and the commission's going to come to them and say,
Yeah, they'll have to give cash now. There's no record.
I actually
I'm
like
kidding.
A lot.
I'll put that in. I don't care if you do. I've never run for anything again anyway.
One never knows. Like,
Yeah.
it goes on.
Oh, you want to make an announcement?
No.
Well, I was going to make a motion, but somebody was. I saw your hand do it.
I so moved that we prohibit political activity by the county manager's office.
Second.
Further discussion. Question in my mind is, throw this out. Okay, well, if the county manager's office can't do it, the county attorney's office shouldn't be able to do it. And then I think, well, the county public works manager shouldn't be able to do it. It's like, where do we draw this line?
There's a difference. The county manager and the county attorney work for the Board of County Commissioners. The others do not.
Or county manager. Okay.
They do not work for the board.
Yeah, there's a carve out, if I may, Chair.
Please stand up.
Oh, okay. But there's a carve out in Florida Statute 106, 1 or 113, I'm not sure. That says that counties can't expend any funds, but there's also part of 104 that says county employees cannot elected to vote. However, it does not have a specific thing that says. But for instance, if the county manager wanted to now to go walking and knocking on doors for a specific candidate during her off time, Saturday between 8 and 5, if she has a defined off time. But if she were to have a defined off time, the law allows her to do that now. What I'm trying to do is get in her off time. Freedom to say, sorry, I can't. That sort of insulates county attorney and county manager.
Hold on. I need one additional piece of information. Explain to me how you can't.
Oh, I can't?
Is it like you can't and David can't and Joel can't?
We can't. We just choose not to. So internally, we choose. So for instance, actually, because of my position, internal decision. And also as part of the canvassing board, and after part of it, I have to remove myself from the canvassing board. If I end up losing part of my job, I can't do part of my job because I'm in politics. And that's
Okay.
a decision I make.
Okay, great. All right, so we understand what you're at. Sure.
And in reference to, I guess, the research you did for, let's say, Hillsborough County and Sarasota County, how did they address the issue of where to draw the line?
They just drew the line, like for Hillsborough, they drew it at the county attorney, the county manager, and the internal auditor, because they all worked for the board directly. So that was the key connection point.
And that they did the research, so, I mean. Yeah.
Well, really, if we did it, what we're really saying is that anybody at the county level that reports directly to the county commission, whatever that structure is.
Manager and the attorney, something's changed.
Edward?
Yeah, so that would then eliminate on your own time to support.
Shouldn't be involved in correctly.
Okay.
And, I mean, that was just a dumb question, but does that not, like, restrict any of their personal rights or anything?
Oh,
Gets them off the hook. Really.
you have to know that is something that's connected to that position. When you accept that position, you
Condition.
have to live under it.
Yeah, okay, I can see that.
Yeah, John.
There's something very distinctly different between Hillsborough and Sarasota. So Hillsborough specifically says in regards to county commission elections, whereas Sarasota just says any. We need to make a determination if we want to do this, how broad we want to go.
Which one was the most recent adoption?
That I don't know off the top of my head.
The most homeless.
Yeah, I see Sarasota's was a 96. I didn't see a date on Hillsborough. But, yeah, my primary concern is the county commission.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with a broader too.
Include the county attorney. Oh, we don't have an attorney.
That's
Okay,
right.
so
That's right.
to
Include the county
include the
attorney.
county attorney.
But the issue that he's brought up is whether it would apply to all political races.
Okay, let's answer one question at a time. Does the second agree?
John was talking
No,
about.
I didn't.
Tom, you agree? It's going to be the county attorney and the city manager,
And
Amended her motion.
pending the motion.
Second.
Who seconded? And you agree?
I didn't say it.
Okay, we agree. Okay, next issue. Yes.
the other one was Josh's point, which was whether to limit it to county commission races, or all political races. One of them does that.
A little uncomfortable limiting any political activity at all. Rather see it just at the
Limited to the county.
Yeah, Kevin, I'm going to tell you, I have an issue with it. I have an issue with your idea. And the potential difficulty that I see is there are a lot of county contracts, and with a lot of the county contracts, they generally give campaign donations. Okay? So the concern that I have is city managers talking to one of these leaders of these organizations, and the question comes up with, should I give this person some money? Sake of argument, not thinking about it, sure. Okay, and it's on tape. Great. You just got involved in political activity, you're fired. From a casual statement that you make. To me, I see the liability that that's going to put on those people is large. That's my concern.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna have a restriction, I'm sorry, if you're gonna have a restriction, there's going to be a possibility somebody's going to violate it. The board would have to decide whether that was a fireable offense. I don't think there's anything in there that just automatically says, somebody's got to determine whether it was a political activity. And so the board would be the one who would have to determine whether that was a fireable offense.
I was just, going to follow up with Kevin. As far as your point, even as stuff that I do on a basis, I have to make sure, is that $25.01 or is that $24.99? That's my responsibility. So if somebody wants to slip me a book that they pay $25.95, that's my responsibility for taking it. So I think whoever accepts that position also has to accept that risk. I don't necessarily see that being that big of a problem. I want to read up on their responsibilities before they take the office.
The professional county manager is going to know how to answer that question. Whoever you decide to write a check to is up to you, not up to me. So,
Kevin, can you clarify the difference? There's a difference between one is very restrictive, and the other one, if I'm hearing you correctly, in any race.
That's right. Josh had brought that point. One of them applies to all races. One of them just the employing body.
In all races, period.
I can't go there.
So limiting it to the county commission, I think, is an improvement.
More than likely, you'll find out that Hillsborough came after Sarasota. Thus, the clarification that they made in their statement.
Larry mentioned that there's no penalty for violating it.
I'm not saying there needs to be.
My interpretation would be that the employing body's the board, and if it was brought to their attention there was a violation of the charter, they provide a warning, whether they...
My suggestion is that we move forward further, that council spend some time on Hillsborough's to find out how they structured their question and how they did their research, because clearly it looks like they've made a few adjustments if in fact they came last after Sarasota.
I'd like to know whether there's been any issues or problems with it before we...
Question: as I move forward with the research, are you looking at doing this now as to those who are currently employed, or are you looking at doing it as to those who come later?
I hadn't really thought about that.
Issue and charter
probably
amendments
best to go ahead and apply it to...
Change in their employment contract?
Follow the charter. So. I have to follow the charter now, so I have to follow the charter later.
Friendly amendment, just so that if it were to pass, it would have the potential of staying there longer, and that is the link that you made to the county commission, rather than just listing the two parties, the attorney and the county manager. Say something like, or any other employee that reports directly to the county commission.
I think that's a good
motion. You agree to that?
Could change.
I agree to that.
You agree to? Okay, and we have another county manager here who can speak to us if she would like.
Yes, I would like to do.
That's what
Monkey's off her back there.
Thank you, and we're totally with you. It's just got to be county commission. Okay, so we got a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Motion on the floor is basically what Kevin's recommended, and it's only for county commission and people that report to the county commission. Okay.
Is that pending? Back.
You're asking me to go forward and look into this further.
That's right. She said.
I think whatever we move forward, she ought to take and do some research on,
yeah,
help us
absolutely.
formulate it into a question.
You'll do a final vote on all of it.
Okay, so all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously.
It looks like 2004. Post research.
For Hillsborough? What about Sarasota?
96.
96, yeah.
There's your answer.
Yeah.
So Hillsborough
Yeah,
spent
you're
some
right.
money and did their homework. So
That's according to the Google machine, so.
that's right.
It's got to be right.
Close enough.
I got a Russian one.
Yeah. Right, you're right. All right, Josh.
Okay, Michelle, you're up.
Yeah, I'm going to withdraw that suggestion about transparency. Not that I think somebody should be less transparent, but as I was lying in bed one night, I started thinking, what are people going to be able to get if we force staff, county staff, to do more work to upload things and upload all kinds of junk to the internet? And it seems to me that all of that information is available through a public record request, so I think this is all unnecessary. So, next.
Okay, I'll take up your item.
Okay.
How long have you and Michael been married?
What?
We're not going to put a charter amendment on that, Larry.
Well, no, this is what happened. You were laying in bed thinking about this. I just wondered, is it gone that far?
Larry.
I have heard enough, okay? Okay, so we're back onto these budgets. Now you're embarrassing members of our staff here. Okay.
And Michelle was embarrassed too.
Yeah. So,
It's an icebreaker. What do you mean?
What I liked about your idea was whether there should be some sort of a quality budget chart on the website. And maybe this is micromanaging, and the city manager should have something like this anyway, kind of going through the efficiency of our departments, the tax efficiency of our departments. And maybe it's an annual report with the state of the county, whatever. Here's how we're doing for all of our different offices compared to the rest of Central Florida, compared to counties our size.
I'm not sure that's something that belongs in the charter. I mean, I think they probably should be doing it. I don't know that that's something.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I think they should be doing it. I think, and I think if you ask any one of them, the Constitutionals or Nicole, for that information, I think they do.
Can I ask? I mean, are any of you in the front row there? Is your budget online anywhere?
Well,
So is
great, they're spending $2 million. Is that efficient?
Well, I mean, it's not really our job to go in there and say, is it efficient or not? It's really.
Whose job is it?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's a charter review whether their budget's efficient.
Here's where this is coming from. I argued with the city manager, City of Oviedo, forever to get quality charts like this. They never appeared. And we had some real inefficiencies. I made the motion twice.
If their budget's online, then
Thanks,
that's
Michelle.
the voter's responsibility at that point.
That's right. Now you
But
go.
how is the voter going to know? Okay, unless you got a chart that says, okay.
Easy, the guy running against him or the lady running against him is going to point it out. I would be. I'd be like, look at this budget. It's the worst thing I've ever seen. He needs to go or she needs to go. I mean, I think that's what the whole process of electing an official is, to be responsible. Now, if their budget's not there and there is no transparency, that could be a potential problem. But I mean, from what I see, it's there. I mean, so
Okay.
everybody in the front row, raise your hand if your budget's on there. It covers everybody, pretty much.
All right. I can see I lost the vote.
Oh, I didn't mean it that way. I just,
Hang on.
you asked the
No, I was just
question.
going to say in my presentation, I mentioned one of the future ideas that we're working on with our spending in the sunshine search engine, which would have taxpayer dollars spent to be able to search. That's one of our goals in the future. Without an amendment, would it could And we also have the comprehensive annual financial. A lot of details. All the data that.
Tom, 1 second. Yeah, my concern, Grant, is I don't know whether that's an efficient expenditure of taxpayer dollars or not, and how it compares to other counties. My philosophy is, if somebody's doing it better somewhere else, I'm not too proud. I'll copy them. Okay, so to me, I just want it to be as plain as day as to whether everyone's doing a good job. So it's really easy for the public to get rid of you if you're not. Because that's what we're all about. We're spending taxpayer dollars. And that's what I'm trying to get visible. Yes, Tom.
Michelle mentioned again that it is on the internet. Again, James said the same, it's on the internet. Now, how many people who can really look at it understand it?
Person running against them.
There you go.
But so I don't believe it's our responsibility to put it in the charter that we must mandate all voters must meet a financial analysis test. I mean, that's up to the individual. I go where you're coming from. I don't disagree with you, but
Well, there's another level of what you're getting at with the constitutional officers. If you don't like their budget, they all report to someone at the state level.
Yeah.
Which approves the budget or doesn't.
I don't. My budget goes. If I may, Chairman.
Well,
my budget goes directly to the county.
Not
Everyone else has a.
not to be flip.
I know, but
You
my
have a
budget's
small
tiny.
budget.
I'm just
Cute
a little
little
kid.
budget.
I don't think there's any like limits in your budget.
But I don't have tentacles.
But you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, I can see that there's no votes.
Well,
I'm
for
fine.
transparency,
The piece I want the public to have a real good understanding of is this budget, and I don't know what the widgets are that you measure, okay? But if we compare ourselves to other counties, you know, and they pretty much have displayed most of this data to us, they're doing a great job, okay? But I just want it on display so the whole world can see that they're doing a great job, and on an easy format.
Have you seen anything like this in any other?
No.
Well, that's why I don't disagree with what you're saying. I just struggle to figure out what do you do. Does it fit in the charter, or what do you do in the charter?
Don't know. But to me, you know, you talk about, you know, transparency to the taxpayers. There's got to be measures that show that they're doing a good job. I just want them as visible as we can make them. I'm real proud of the job you guys are doing. Don't get me wrong. This has nothing to do with you. This just has to do with, to me, good government. Here's your stuff. Here's you doing a good job, and it's on display. I don't know how to make that happen.
I don't think it can be dictated through the charter. I agree with you wholeheartedly, but that's.
I don't think it's something we can address.
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion that we, for Michelle's request, remove the item of transparency.
That sounds awful in the minutes.
Yours.
Was that a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Just on less transparency, I think is the way the headline is.
Yeah.
Put a better euphemistic word in there.
Actually, it does sound bad.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. The mandate for that is removed. Yeah.
All opposed? Carries unanimously. Okay. All right. That was the end of our list for tonight. Yes.
Okay. I'm going to make this quick. I'm going to withdraw my petition, but the issue I have is I was not able to make the last meeting. I wanted to contribute for your request for ideas for the Charter Commission. I asked how I could do that. He said work through our county attorney, and I was told that I could not submit my idea if I was not at the meeting.
No problem. Bring it up right now.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, the
me-
issue is if we can't come to the meeting, there should be a way we could participate.
Let me ask a question here that, and I may be wrong about the legality within the Sunshine Law, but my understanding has always been that if any member wants to communicate one way with any other member, as long as there's no response, that's not a violation. Is that?
I would never encourage a board member to communicate with another board member. Whenever we send out an email, it should indicate, this email is going to all board members. This is a Sunshine Board. Do not hit reply to all. And we can sit, there was a memorandum that Mr. Turner's prepared that he wanted to submit to everyone, and we said we'll bring it to the meeting and then we'll discuss it. So he does have an issue and he does have an item. The problem was how to get that out to everyone in advance. Now, we could have sent a memo out like Mr. Strickler did, but with the agenda being controlled by the chair in this case, it was it put staff in an awkward position of being what's called a conduit, which is where I go to the chairman and say, we have a member who has a concern, and now we'd like to get that on the agenda. And now I am violating the Sunshine Law on your behalf. So that was really the issue, but no, please don't email one another with things that concern business that is going to foreseeably come before this board, because that is a Sunshine Law issue. It becomes one very quickly.
He could have gave it to his neighbor and had them send it to us.
No, having said that, though.
Then his neighbor's a conduit. But prosecutions against individuals who violate the Sunshine Law have not been upheld.
Ina, couldn't you have him be given it to you, and you gave it to the chairman to distribute to everybody for the meeting, just like his memo?
It would have fallen under item 6, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what we ultimately, without violating the Sunshine Law, I suggested to the chairman that anyone who had missed a meeting and had not brought up their issues be invited to do so on the agenda under an item that's called other business or items that haven't come up yet. And that way, and that's exactly what we were trying to do, was get the information before this board without engaging in a Sunshine Law violation.
Well, I'm glad I asked that question, because I didn't realize it worked that way. But I feel safer
Now,
using
the clerk will distribute agendas and memos and meeting minutes and everything, but when she does that, she's sending it to everyone.
Right.
But, generally, I know with the city, we always say, this email is going to all board members. Please do not hit reply to all. And if someone does accidentally do it, which sometimes happens, then we come clean at the next meeting and say, that I didn't mean to go reply to all on that. And then you've done what's called a cleansing process under Sunshine, and you've brought it out in the open, and it's been all resolved in the meeting. But no, I would never encourage a board member to do that.
Dana, you are not part of this committee, right? In other words, we can converse with you anytime we want.
Right. Yeah.
So that's where it should go to.
Yeah.
Save yourself a lot of aggravation later.
Yes, ma'am, and I did distribute cards at the last meeting, and it has my email address on it, but I brought more tonight in case you didn't get one.
But I think what I'm hearing is, because of Sunshine Law, if we're not going to make a meeting, we basically cannot contribute.
No, you can contribute. Send it to Dana, and she sends it to all of us.
I would distribute it at this meeting, is what we would do.
That's useless, because I'm going to be at this meeting. I could just bring it up.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's
But what do you want to do?
If I'm not going to make a meeting and I know it, I would like to be able to contribute to that meeting.
What do you mean contribute?
With an email.
No, there was a
can't.
call to action, I think, prior to that meeting.
The chairman said, I'm looking for ideas for this committee. I wanted to contribute to it, and I was not able to. And just saying, I can come to the next meeting and bring it up is kind of useless.
No, Rob, that's not. I don't know who said that, but that's not right. Okay, send it to the attorney. She sends it to all of us.
She just said.
No, we'll
No,
distribute it with the
meeting.
minutes to the meeting and say this is the item.
She gave me a tongue to it.
But I can't go to the chairman and say I need to add an item at the request
I
of
said
the.
you forward all of
But I
us
don't
the same email.
Yeah, we can prepare the memo like the chairman did and send it out to everyone.
Right.
Okay.
But-
So I was
but-
hearing is, it
But
wouldn't happen until
the
we
issue
actually-
was putting the item on the agenda, and I don't prepare the
That's a
agenda.
different issue. Right.
Yeah.
Right. You can get it.
Tell us now
You
what
can
it
get it.
is?
Let's just make sure we're all clear here. Okay?
Yes, type again.
Because I don't want anybody not bringing information forward.
Right.
You got anything? You send it to the attorney. She sends it to all
And
of
we'll
us.
distribute it just like we distributed the Seminole County Sheriff's Office memo. We distributed it, but we can't. Yeah, we can't target it
Right.
to members from
Right.
members.
Because what ended up was it didn't get distributed, and the answer was, well, I can come here and bring it up, which
Right. Well,
defeats the whole purpose.
yeah. Well, we've corrected
But
it
now I
now.
understand.
Send it to her. She
But
sends
also
it to
in
all
that discussion, we could have brought it up. I could have brought it up at the meeting and said you're unavailable to be here. Here is a memo from this
That's
member,
right.
and
That's
distribute it around, and we could have done that.
Well,
Well, see, on the agenda, that's why we got A.
Right, that's why we added
Other
that,
business.
so we could have
So you always have that at
discussion.
the end because sometimes things fall through the crack this way. Any member's got any issue, you can bring it up on the agenda.
but having caused all the problems, my addition has already been addressed with the subcommittee.
Okay.
So,
Good.
Do you
Well,
wish
taking your
to?
time, I'm not going to bring up my extra one.
We appreciate you bringing it up, okay? Because now at least we've cleared the air. Anybody's got to get something to everybody. Send it to Dana. She sends it to all of us.
Okay.
Yes,
And the
Kevin?
memorandum is a public record now, so if you
Yeah.
wish to distribute it, it can be.
Okay.
I've got another issue I just want to provide a handout or anything for it.
Sure.
Over the last month or two, I've talked to people in conversations. Every one of these people almost immediately said, "You've got to do this." They were all the same. You know what it was? Term limits. Term limits. I personally, and I hadn't thought about bringing it forward, but I personally believe that that's a problem at the national level. You know, with people, professional politicians in Washington for 30 plus years. I don't think it's good for the country. I don't know that it's a problem at our level. We do have long-term elected officials who stay in office. Good thing, others that it's not such a good thing. I just want to throw it out to the group. Come on, these were not politically active people. They all, I just thought it was odd that like 6 different people all dedicated time.
Kevin, I will tell you, I have had the same experience. I will tell you that I refute it every time. The fact that this is a very well-run county. The services that people get here for the tax dollars that are collected here are excellent. And there's a lot of confusion between turnover of people in office and what they think that they're going to get. But if you're in a situation where you know what you're getting, you need to tell the public that's got misconceptions about how business is conducted in this county. We've heard from the constitutional officers. We know what we rate amongst all of the rest of Central Florida and the rest of the state. This place is doing great. People are moving here in droves. And from that perspective, when something is working good, don't break it.
That's right.
I would ask you to look at Tallahassee. Look at Tallahassee, and ever since term limits came in, every rookie that goes up there is already, day one, trying to get into a leadership position before they term limit out. And the problem you have up there, bureaucrats and the lobbyists run everything. The institutional knowledge of the elected official is gone. Been gone ever since that law passed. That's why I don't. Now, I don't know if you could transfer that concept to the local level and have as much of a problem, but I think it would still be a problem.
Then there would be pros and cons. There would be good things that may come out of it.
Yeah. Personally, I don't support it for that reason.
I think elections are term limits, you can term limit, public can term limit people.
I mean,
Is that a motion? Is that a motion? I'll second it.
I mean, of course, there's gamemanship, but I mean, if you run a good election, then you can win. So
That wasn't a formal proposal.
No,
I think it's a discussion item, so I'm not expecting
I
a vote,
understand.
so.
I want to add to what he's saying. To me, the other problem with term limits is, and the public doesn't understand it, the shorter you make those term limits, the more the lobbyists actually run the government. I agree. Because people don't understand, as I deal with a lot of elected officials, you have to be in the job a while till you really understand the jobs. It's really no different than starting almost any other position in any other company. We've all changed jobs. There's a huge learning curve. Well, in these jobs, there's also a huge learning curve. And it's even more complicated because politics gets involved in trying to get the public's business done. So, for what it's worth, I hear those comments, and I just don't agree with them.
Take the discussion.
New issues. Anybody want to bring up?
In fact, that was in there, number 6 was in there for ideas like you brought things that you've thought of since the last meeting or things that have been brought to your attention by the public. So that's why we're going to keep that in there, because other things may pop up.
And he's my straight man, so we will now open it up to public comments. Wow. We have an audience here, lots of folks. Yes, please come forward. State your name and address for the record.
Fred Streetman, 125 Lake Green Drive, Raleigh, Florida. I just want to all of you who are doing this. I saw that it was encouraging to me, a lot of suggestions, not well discussed, and said, I was the chairman of pressure to change on it. That committee worked hard, a lot of debate, sometimes debate you guys had, public hearings, put up, said something. At the end of the day, we made no change. No change. Hard disciplinary position to take. Part of it is a wonderful county here. Really, a raft of suggestions here recently, like not only nonpartisan elections, districts, each of the districts, so that everybody can vote on everybody can vote on every commission. Goes out in Oviedo, the commission living in Lake Mary, go out there and look at it. That's wonderful. People are one of the legislatures put the idea of a county mayor like Orlando. Let's see how Orlando is run compared to Seminole County. Have a influx of county power here. County chairman always has been county chairman. County chairman has always done a wonderful job of speaking for the county, listening for the county, holding our county in high esteem throughout the state. Person doesn't draw any power beyond the person sitting next to him. That is a wonderful thing. From a government where the county manager accumulate power, every citizen in this county, if you can have a better system. As to the nonpartisan elections, I moved here. Every constitutional office has a go to see groups and sign up. You can sign up. You better not sign up as a Republican. You'll never get to vote in a primary. Message was pretty well widespread. But instead of saying, okay, we'll do that, we said, no, we'll register Republican. Right into candidates. When candidates on the other side, it is an open election. The Democrats choose their. And it goes together. There was a move in the legislature. Open primary. At the time, Tony Jennings. If they open the primary, then we have the same thing, nonpartisan elections. Because anybody can go vote for anybody. Open primary, the liberal element of the county might go vote for the most liberal person in the primary. Right? The closed election, Republican primary, county represent their county. In order to stop that movement, Tony put in this thing, not having writing candidate. Mike was talking. And Mike also, I disagree with Mike. I disagree with him on many things. I think the writing candidate. But it really shouldn't be necessary. If the Democrats want a candidate, or the Republicans want a candidate, all the people in the county, then they go to the. Mike also said, if we pass this, we do away with this, there'll be a way for people to change around it, and there will be. Can't you imagine that if you're a Republican, open election, which is not Democrat, and you can't the Republicans to become a Democrat. Any money and don't try and win. Always do that. We've got a great system, a great political system, we've got a great election system. This has never been controversial this year, ever before as there is this year. It has to do with personality. My philosophy, personal philosophy, always has been, don't change the system. Also, the person's there, personality. How do you change personalities, operation here? Then, whether the chairman, one said, Ray Valdez is here. Tax collector. Probably wouldn't, but it wouldn't be because of Ray Valdez. Or there wouldn't be, what's going to be the battle of how much money, all that kind of thing. And the direction of the person, those actions may change. Certainly the person may change. And there's no reason to change the independent downturns in this county, economic downturns, everybody comes together, sheriff comes together, property appraiser comes together, supervisor, tax collector. Nothing will help save a little money. You talk about collaborative effort. Collaborative effort is always been here. Right at this moment, I'm hoping the system is good. Oscar's philosophy is good. A hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fred, thank you for your comments and thank you for all your years of service.
Yes. Tom, could we have clarity on something?
Where's clarity because you're out of time. Go ahead.
Sorry. On the sheet that we have,
yes,
I want to know the status of it, what is on and what's not on. What is on, to be sure.
Okay, basically what's on here is Larry's idea, and we've got the subcommittee meeting really to address it, and that will also address my item from the front.
So on your item.
Right, that's it. Well, Kevin said
county
we passed.
manager.
And then the other item is,
Those are his. Count up there.
Okay, so we are. Any other public comments? Seeing none, public comment is closed. Any other business?
Could I
Yes, sir.
read a note I got from my neighbor?
How to make it quick? We're out of
This is
time.
just before. I just wanted you to go longer than me.
Can this wait till the next one?
I received this 2 days before the Super Bowl, but anyway, it says, I know it's late notice, but a friend of mine has 2 tickets for the Super Bowl in Minneapolis, Minnesota at the new U.S. Bank Stadium on Sunday, February 4th. They are box seats. He paid $3,500 per ticket, which includes the ride to and from the airport, lunch, dinner, and a $400 bar tab, and a pass to the winner's locker room after the game. What he didn't realize when he bought them last year was that it's on the same day as his wedding.
Oh my.
It says, if you are interested, he is looking for someone to take his place. It's at St. Paul's Church at 3 p.m. Wait a minute. Her name is Ashley. She's 5'4", about 115 pounds, a good cook, loves to fish and hunt, and will clean your truck. She'll be the one in the white dress. Y'all have a nice evening.
Okay, our next meeting is February 20th, same place, same time, and we are adjourned. See you then.